I wasn't listening to my body. New Year's Eve, my wife's getting dolled up to go out, and I'm like laying in bed, unable to sleep. Didn't understand why I was so tired. This is what's going on. And so they put me through an ultrasound and all this stuff to check my brain. And they gave me some sleeping pills, and I slept for almost 2 days. I went on the cruise with Lauren, my wife, and it was going great. Like I was doing really well. Go shopping, go to concerts, go on road trips. I'm serving 400 people at events. I'm giving speeches, all sorts of things that I did not think that I would be able to do.
How's it going, Thrivers? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, we have Jesse all the way from Canada, and he's been on a remarkable past year and a half or so, really getting his life back. He went from dealing with a lot of fatigue, back pain, just numb limbs, tingling, anxiety, depression, all these different things, and just being very debilitated to now getting his life back. He's functional, doesn't even think twice about doing activities now, and he's back exercising in the gym, sweating, getting the blood pumping. I know that was one of our original goals we talked about. But Jesse, you want to quickly introduce yourself to everybody on here?
Yeah, my name's Jesse, 48 years old. You know, pretty crazy symptoms I've had up until about a year ago. Just super happy that I found CFS Recovery, and they've just kind of defined what's going on with me and given me those tools just to help me get where I need to go.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording here, but you had the intense symptoms about a year before you found us, but you noticed there were probably some things going on prior to that. But when all of this hit you, like, when did you realize, okay, this is a pretty serious problem. It's not going away. Like, how did that all start? When did it get pretty serious for you?
Well, you know what? It kind of goes back a number of years. I know now, like, because I didn't understand what the condition was, but I've probably had CFS developing for probably 10, 15 years. I used to get, I actually had a cardiologist at one point. I was a heart patient on heart meds, medicated for atrial fibrillation, all that sort of thing. I was actually, cardioverted. I lost track of how many times, probably 4 or 5, where I didn't know what POTS was. I didn't know what any of that stuff was, but I was medicated for that and treated as that, and still kept on with that lifestyle of just really super achiever, like just taking on too much, drinking too much. Even when I had these symptoms of my heart, I just didn't listen to myself. And it's a familiar story, I know, with a lot of the people in here, but what led to this was kind of a convergence of all those things. I wasn't listening to my body, plain and simple. It was, and I didn't know how to listen because I didn't know where to look. And I was just not paying attention to the things I was putting on myself. And then I remember just one morning, just sitting, staring in the mirror, going like, I need to change. Something needs to snap. And little did I know, I was speaking to my nervous system, which we know that language now. Then things just converged all at once. I lost my mom. I got COVID a couple times, was super sick, drinking lots. And then just, I started getting these really bad back pains, and then going to the doctor and, a physiotherapist, and to try and, cold trail it in the extremities of my body and address these symptoms, like as leg, as back, as neck. And, we ruled out that I had nothing wrong with me. My body was fine. And yet to understand that, and a pill to swallow, it's like it puts you in this little box where you're like, it's just me, right? And no one really understands because you can't go around and explain to people. That happened. I crashed. I don't know, use that term, but in 2023, right in like around Christmas, that sort of thing. I was literally like New Year's Eve, my wife's getting dolled up to go out, and I'm like laying in bed and unable to sleep, didn't understand why I was so tired. It had been 2 full days since I'd slept. And I just said, hon, I got to stay home. And she went out, and then I couldn't take it. So I went down to the emergency room and I said, hey, like, this is what's going on. And so they put me through an ultrasound and all this stuff to check my brain. And they gave me some sleeping pills, and I slept for almost 2 days. Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty crazy. Wasn't long after that, I found Recovery CFS. I don't know how, but I did. And I'm so glad I did. And, you know, you get a definition or something to focus your mind towards. It says, this is what it is. This is me. This is all going to be me now. I have to listen to my body. And I'm really fortunate that I have an autocorrect or autopilot in my brain that saved my life, that basically said, hey, we heard you. We don't trust you. You're not a good caretaker of your body. You don't listen to us. So here, like, this is what's happened. That's how I approached it. Right? Like,
yeah. Same with me. I look back at all the signs building up, and you know, there was a lot of stress boiling beneath the surface. A lot of it like self-imposed. Like no one made me work all those hours. I kind of did it because I thought I had to. A lot of internal pressures we put on ourselves, and especially type A personality folks. They'll tend to get this stuff. You know, I've yet to see somebody without a type A personality get this.
Oh my God. You're so right, Miguel. I was one of these guys, like, I was a chef, and to somebody out there that know what that lifestyle is like.
Stressful.
Yeah, I was a chef at a winery, right? Where like I had a team of, like, I was an executive chef. I had like 35 employees. You know, you're always doing wine paired menus, and the TV crews are in, and you get assignments to take wine home and drink them. So, I mean, you're just right in the thick of it, right? And I can remember, this is kind of a funny thing. I was so used to living like that, where I was a functional person, but I never missed a day at work, never called in sick, nothing like that. Years. I remember I'd have a care kit beside my, like, by the back door, where I'd have my phone charger, my wallet, my keys, everything I needed to survive in an ER. Just understanding that there at any point in time I could wake up in AFib and need to go to the doctor and get conjunct. And sometimes they would cardioavert me, and then I'd be like, hurry up, guys, I got to start my shift at 4. And they're like, are you serious right now? I'm like, oh yeah, I got a wedding. There's a bride. She's going to kill me. I got to get this food out. And they're like, oh my God, all right, here's some pills. And then I just go do it again. And I did that for years. Yeah.
That's wild. You know, that's crazy. That reminds me, like, because there have been times when I went from personal training somebody, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to collapse, call 911. Ambulance comes, they pick me up. And as they're wheeling me onto the ambulance in a stretcher, I'm like to my manager, hey, can you message Johnny? Tell him I can't make it to the next session. Tell him I'll do it tomorrow. Just reschedule him as I'm being stretchered on. But in my mind, I'm like, hey, just tell him tomorrow I can't make it to the next one. And they're like, Miguel, it's okay. I think they'll understand. Like, you need to relax. And it was just such an extreme mindset.
Yeah. And you know what? I notice it now, but I really, really enjoyed chaos, because I thrived in chaos. Like, it was almost like that was the frequency of where my mind always was. So I needed to match up that level of intensity and chaos, just so it would silence, or my brain would just grab onto the chaos. And what it appeared to be chaos to other people was actually perfect operating level for me, because stuff is crumbling and I'm just like, do slow motion, you know, and it's just I can't explain it to you, but that's how I loved to operate. Just dismantling chaos, solving problems. I loved it, and it gave me an excuse to live that lifestyle. So
yeah, that's a really good way to put it, you know. And even me nowadays, I find myself, sometimes I have those same patterns where we're doing a lot of stuff, the team is busy, I'm like, you know, let's add this thing and this thing and this thing. We need more action. Like, that's where I feel in the zone. But then I realize, hold on, Miguel, it's okay to dip our toes into that, but for the most part, we should take it a bit easier. So it's interesting. The chaos thing is so true.
You're right. And as the boss, it's like you just you want to build people and make them strong. Like that's your whole goal, right? And so you're always piling more stuff on their plates and becoming that person who's like delegating impossible tasks, saying, you can do it, I believe in you, you better be here, this is what you signed up for, blah 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 blah. Like you get it, right? And at the same time doing it to yourself, because you want to crush it, right?
Yeah.
But
It's wild because you go from that person who can pretty much take on the world.
yeah.
Like you feel like you could do anything, and then you get really debilitated with these symptoms. Now you could barely like cook a meal, you can barely walk outside. So you go from, in your mind, you're like Superman, to now you could barely take care of yourself. So how was that like for you, like mentally?
Oh my God. It, like I said, so like it has to be destroyed for it to be built. And what it was like for me when it really got weird was when because I'm up every morning, 5 a.m. before my kids go to school, and I'm cooking them like place settings. It's almost like they get a little menu to order. And my language of love is always food, right? My wife started to notice something was really wrong because I didn't want to cook. And they'd never, ever seen this before, where I was like, you guys got to make your own dinner. And they're like, what? What's going on with Dad? What's happening to him? He's downstairs in the room and he won't come out. And he does that was when it got really serious. I think that was the turning point. And then I found you a little while around that point, right? And
yeah. And what are some of the other things you tried? Like, did you try any other treatments with the doctor?
God. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was really crazy because I had this one doctor and this one clinic, and they were really overwhelmed, busy, and just not effective. And then I decided to switch doctors to my wife's doctor, and it all kind of happened kind of simultaneously. I'm kind of blessed that it did happen, but the approach was she was really listening to my symptoms. So she started signing me up to all these other external people. They didn't all happen at once, mind you, which would have been nice because then you can get the answer right away. It took the course of 6 to 8 months by the time you do. But yeah, physiotherapy. I had a whole rack of supplements that I was taking because I was trying to just peel back the layers of the onion and just stop doing the things I was doing and just replace them with feeding myself everything positive that I possibly could, whether it was mentally and physically. I started just really focusing on my health. I wasn't able to exercise or anything, but like just taking the approach of like, let's build this baby up from the frame, because that's all I was at that point. I'd lost 20 pounds and like muscle was gone. I'd go down the stairs and my legs would get all creaky. And I was like, Jesus, man, I'm like an old man. But I tried, just like all of you, you know how it is when you're searching for an answer, you spend a lot of time on the internet and YouTube videos. Some of the stuff that you come across is really helpful, and other stuff, it leads you down weird roads. The stuff that I found the most helpful was things that were mentally good, that focusing on your thought patterns and how to put your energy there first, because you got to go brain up. That's what CFS Recovery kind of helped me with too.
You had all these symptoms, you're doing all these tests and scans, you're trying physio, all these different things, private health, and I remember you were talking about that when we first chatted, and you end up finding us, watching our YouTube videos, and then you end up applying. And I remember that first conversation like it was yesterday. I remember. And we were talking about all the things you tried. I remember talking about your recovery trajectory. Based on where you're at, 6, 7, 8 months, this is where you're going to be at. You're going to be exercising again. At the time, you couldn't really exercise. So it seemed like such a far out goal. But, what was going through your mind at that initial?
Yeah. You have that conversation with yourself. There's the money part of it, what it costs. And then, being an analyzed guy, I'm always thinking, what's the return? And I thought, I thought I was dying. So like, what could possibly be standing in my way, So there was that, which is a big one. Yeah. The goals. I had a goal that I needed to go on a cruise in January. It was December. And, I thought, I have to do this. It was my wife won an award and for just being so excellent at what she does, and it put us on a cruise ship, and I didn't want that to go bad for her. And so I was just, kind of apprehensive, but that was my initial goal. I just started with small goals, like, hey, at the end of the day, I want to get to do this, and just little chips away at these little small goals, telling myself I can, if I can do that, great, and then that means I can, just slowly chip away at where I wanted to be. And then it ended up, I went on the cruise with Lauren, my wife, and it was going great. Like I was doing really well. I had a couple of symptoms here and there, and ended up getting like this crazy flu on I just thought, hey, here's my test. This is kind of what I asked for. If I can somehow pull this off, anything will be possible, because you got all this anxiety, right? Like you're in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
You're thinking, oh, what happens if they need to bring a chopper? And shut up, brain. Like, what are you doing?
The chopper, yeah.
Like just you have all these thoughts, and you're like, what if I need to be like cardioverted? I hunkered down. I don't know how, Miguel, but I've never beat a flu like that in my life. Like I thought I was going to be laid out for a week, but by day 2, I was on a beach smoking a cigar. Still a little bit under the weather. I'm not telling you I was out of the woods, but I convinced myself that this is just a normal thing and it's just going to pass through me, and got lots of rest. And Lauren went out and stayed out late those nights, and I kind of went back to the room, kept it a little quiet, did my little rituals where I do my breathing and all that stuff that feeds me and helps me, and I pulled it off and made it back. Everything was great.
That was pretty epic. And I remember initially when we first talked, before you even started, we were talking about, okay, well, what are some goals you have? And that was a big one, is that cruise that you were going on. And at the time when we talked, like, you weren't too functional.
No.
You could do stuff, but very symptomatic. So a cruise, that was like, that was a big jump. And I was like, we're going to focus on that. That is going to be the primary focus. We're going to make sure you have a great time on that cruise. But the big thing is, you already had done a lot of research about CFS. You tried a bunch of stuff. So for you, it was just a matter of, let's put the puzzle pieces together, because you're also quite overwhelmed. It's like, what do I do with all this information? Like, should I do more? Should I do less? Am I even on the right track? So we were just like, you know what? You got all the discipline, you got all the motivation. It's really just kind of a roadmap you're missing. So once we came up with that, you did a great job just coming in and following the plan and adapting and executing. And yeah, you did phenomenal on that cruise. I remember the flu, and you bounced back quick.
Yeah, it was quite a crazy thing. And I'd noticed after that, the sequence of events where I had the understanding that my kryptonite symptom wasn't something outside of CFS, which is, these symptoms that your brain throws at you, they know it knows how to really stop you when it wants to. I made it past and through all the AFib, FOB, or POTS for years, and just dealt with it, and it was like nothing to me. But once my brain found that if your legs and hands fall asleep, there's instant panic. Like there's no way around it. Like it's got you. But once I sort of saw that subside and go away, I noticed there was a little less need to have my coach. I was asking her way less questions, right? And during the calls, I noticed that I was just paying attention to what other people were saying, and then that's when I realized that these calls, they're at some point they're not about you, and you realize that giving people the wins is like such a powerful thing. And I started just like less questions, because to be quite honest, Miguel, like there's so much information that you guys have put together on that, like there's an answer to almost every question on your videos, right? You just need affirmation from someone to tell you that it's true. And I thought, well, are there times that I need to ask questions? Sure, but I don't need to be making it about me every day. And giving a win at the beginning of every call is like super powerful, because it helped me so much hearing people and seeing these videos. That is what fueled it.
Totally. Like it helps build that momentum, because when you start, it's like you're kind of at a standstill. There's no momentum. You don't even know which direction to go or like what to do. So those wins, it seems like such a simple thing, but it's activating things in your brain. Like that alone is like brain retraining. Like it's
Yeah.
shifting you out of that panic, that fight or flight state. It's showing you, hey, recovery is absolutely possible. And you're seeing constant proof dripped every single week. You're seeing people who are like bedridden going traveling again, or working, or having the best day with their kids that they've had in years, or they were able to cook for their kids or chase their kid around. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just constant proof.
Yes. I still practice gratitude at the end of every day. And the whole experience has really awakened me to, like, I'm so lucky. Like, there's all these things that I'm really grateful for. And like at the end of every day, I go through those in my head. And even if I'm in an AP or not, a lot of times that's what got me through these really heavy APs, is I'd go through this routine at the end of the night where I'd shut down all of my devices and everything like that a good hour before I was trying to get my, you're not tired, you're wired. So you got to kind of like walk yourself back.
And we see, like, once people have that big mind shift of like, okay, this is definitely the nervous system. I can see it now. I've experienced it. For you, it was the cruise ship. I think that's when the light bulb probably went off, because you bounced back so fast, even just from the flu. And it's another really good lesson. That situation could have went one of two ways. You could have been on the cruise, had the flu, and if you downward spiraled and started thinking, okay, back to square one, I'm stranded on this ship, I shouldn't have come here. If we started having that conversation, yeah, you definitely wouldn't have bounced back that fast. You probably would have actually gotten worse. But because you responded well, you focused on your 3-foot world, and you didn't think like, okay, what's going to happen after or next week? How does this affect my journey overall? You just focused on responding well. Your body did wonders. It actually bounced back. So it's probably your first taste of, I did this action and I got an immediate result, almost immediate result from it. So this stuff really works. And it was like, it just really hammered in that idea of like, okay, I can
Yeah.
actually rewire a lot of this stuff. It actually works because I've seen it, I've tasted it, I felt it.
Mhm.
Let's just keep doing it.
Yeah. And I want to say, like, I haven't been typically in my previous, I would have been sick every 3 months or so. I would have got my nervous system. I don't know how it would have worked. Maybe I was fragile, but I was always getting sick. And that was the only time I've been sick in almost a year and a half. And it's really strange. It always seemed like whenever there was a big event to come up, or if I was going to go traveling or something, I would just get sick. And I always thought, man, I'm getting these bugs all the time. I must be like, something's up. I think it's just my nervous system, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely, my doctor says now, I just got some blood work done recently, and she's like, your health is, she's pretty astounded. And I was speaking with her about what I'm involved in with you guys, and she's actually asked me to provide her with the information and the link and such, so she could, because she has other patients in the same boat, and she's just like, man, like whatever you're doing is really cool. So
that's always super cool. Even when the doctors are like, oh, we tried this medication and that, and we couldn't do it, but whatever you're doing, keep on doing it because it's working. That's always a cool thing to hear.
well, doctors have it's hard on them, and for your coaches too. I always try and put myself in their shoes, and you're constantly dealing with people that want you to fix them, and there's no magic pill for this. And when you stop looking for that magic pill, then when the doctor has a relief, they're like, oh my God, like this guy isn't going to come in complete shattered state. So.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because it's not like we gave you a magic pill or magic potion, or we did some magical spell on you. Like we just gave you some information, but you
Yeah.
had that potential inside the whole time, just like all these other people who are bedridden and sick for years. That recovery potential is within all of these folks. It's just a matter of unlocking that. And like, what are the certain things you have to do and different ways you have to think in order to rewire those parts of your brain. But I think, as long as people have ruled out any other health issues and other causes, absolutely, you can turn this around, and that potential is inside. You don't need an external thing other than maybe some information, but an actual, like, what do they call it? This a magic silver bullet or a
Yeah.
magic pill doesn't exist. Like nothing outside of you that you ingest is going to fix you. You're going to have to fix yourself. But it's also like, it's like the ultimate personal development course, crash course. Very messy.
Yeah, it's a bitter
You
pill
love
when it's a bitter pill when you realize there's no pill and it's all on you. And it gives, you're like, okay, this is accountability 101.
Yep.
First of all, you got to put all the positive things that happen to you, and you got to look at it that way. Like, I know now that we've had a look under the hood. Not all people my age, they just go through their life, and sometimes they'll come up with something out of the blue in their 50s that they didn't know they had. But now we've been through my whole body, top to bottom, kind of, that's a good thing, right? Where you've got a full health assessment under your belt with records in your medical file that can give the medical professionals a baseline, so they can track progression or whatever like that. But yeah, the accountability thing is a bitter pill to swallow for a lot of it, right? Where you're like, this is all going to be me. It sucks because you realize that there isn't a pill that you can take or a procedure to fix you, but it's also nice to be able to focus all of your attention just on what it is, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's tough because normally with any other illness or you get sick, you go to the doctor, you break your leg, go to the doctor, they'll fix it for you. But you realize with this, it's like, ain't nobody coming to pull you out of this but yourself. It's going to take some work, but I think that's what we really try to do here is we try to simplify what that looks like. It's still hard work, but it's simple.
Yeah. I remember looking at people, like I would see people with broken legs, or I'd hear a story of a friend of mine, like, and I was like, man, I wish that was me. At least I know that my leg just had to get fixed. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's tangible, it's visible. That needs to be fixed. It'll heal. And I remember feeling that, like, man, I wish it was just one of those things. And then you sit and you look out the window and you see people running by, and you're going, oh man, I just want to do that.
Yeah, I remember that on the way to the doctors. Like, they'd wheel me into the car in a wheelchair, plop me in there. I'm like, could barely keep myself up. I'm seeing these people running and jogging and biking. I'm like, man, I forgot what it's like to do that. How are they doing that without crashing? It's such a different world, right?
Yeah. And you observe behavior that got you to where you are, and you say, how is this person still operating like that? And why did I get it? And then you say, I'm like, remember, you're lucky you got it. Right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to feel lucky when you're in the trenches of it, but as you start to get better and better, you realize, like, this was probably a gift, because had I kept living that lifestyle, the car would have went off the cliff. So the car kind of broke down before we reached the cliff. Still sucks, but at least we have an opportunity to fix this before maybe something worse happened, That's
the way you got to look at it. And because that's the cards you've been dealt. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner recovery will happen. That's my opinion. And then I always ask myself, well, what is 100% recovery? Does it even exist? And I tell myself, you know what? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just means that you're just what you thought was 100% before. It was never 100%.
Yeah.
Like, do I want that back? No.
Yeah. There's a different measuring scale once you come out of this. And even now, like, I don't even think there's a finish line. Like, I'm constantly furthering my potential. There's always room to grow. And for me, I always thought, like, if only I get to this level, then I get the job done. But as humans, once you reach that level, you want more. Because there was a time when I was like, if I could only walk outside without symptoms, I'd be the happiest man alive. That's all I want. That's all I want, universe. If you could just get me there. Once I got there, it's like, well, this is fun, but what would it be like to run? I want to run. Then I could run. Then it was like, no, let's get jacked. Let's start working out again. There's always another level. So then I realized my brain is never fully going to be satisfied. So let me just enjoy the journey. Let me just enjoy this, I guess, growth and reaching my potential, knowing that there is no finish line. It's an illusion, but it makes it fun.
Yeah, that's well said. I appreciate now that in my past I was just zipping by the things that the simple things in life, and now when I get outside and go for a walk, I'm not in a rush. I see
Mhm.
things that are beautiful and I appreciate them more. And my kids are now, I'm paying way more attention to the little tiny silly things that you get to laugh at as a dad. And previous to that, it was just a blur of just busyness and hangovers and stuff like that, where you just don't see it. So I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that, that part of
Yeah.
it for sure.
Makes you more present. So going back to your recovery,
Hmm.
because you've made significant progress, you got your life back and everything. What would you say the top 2 or 3 biggest things that helped you were? It could be a certain line or a saying. For me, it was the golden rule of recovery, which is your success is determined by how well you respond to symptoms. But what are some golden nuggets you could share with people that, could potentially help them? Like, what were the biggest needle movers for you that really helped? I know
The
there's so
biggest,
many to choose from, but like, if you
yeah,
could pick.
yeah, the biggest needle mover for me is when you just realize that you have the power in your own brain to fix this, and and having trust in yourself for once, that in your life where there's always doubt before, that you have the ability to fix it. And it does take a lot of discipline and effort and routine to accomplish it. But once you realize that it's possible, then that's when it all flips. And then I look down at my like mind shift thing and I go, oh, that's what that means. I didn't really know what it meant when I first got it, to tell you the
Yep.
truth.
Have it right here. One mind shift away. Because
Yeah,
it's really what it is.
yeah,
All it takes is one.
yeah. There's that. And yeah, and then it's just like the micro of just like of just realizing that each symptom is just a symptom and it'll go away. Um, and you can just, once you realize that it's not forever, um, that takes a bit of the fear away, because fear can really keep you locked, man. Like, fear is the mind killer, for sure. So
Mhm.
once you can swat the fear away, um, and like just be cool with it. Uh, Not cool with it, but like you can just operate with moderate symptoms. That was a big turning point for me, where you're like, okay, my legs are a little numb today. Maybe if maybe by the end of the day that they won't be, or maybe they will be. And then I stopped thinking about it, and then it kind of went away. I
Mhm.
don't know if that makes any sense to you, man, but
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because sometimes we can, well, most of the time, until people like learn the ins and outs of what's going on, the fear is literally paralyzing.
it
It's
does.
paralyzing. Like there were some days I was so scared to get off the couch. Like I felt like I was so fragile when I was in an adjustment period or a flare up that if I stood up to just get water, I'd crash, or that my body would just give out. So there was little to no more trust in my body. And that's a scary place to be. But once you learn that, okay, the fear is fueling a lot of these symptoms, they're real symptoms, right? And we're not saying it's for you people watching this, it's not all in your mind. Like there are physical things happening in your brain with the fear. Like it dumps adrenaline, it keeps your amygdala hyperactive, which always puts you in self-defense mode, which means everything is dangerous to you. The light coming through the window
Yes.
is dangerous. It hurts. The garbage truck outside, the sound of that hurts
Oh, it
because it's
does.
danger.
God,
Everything's dangerous.
that is one of the ones that hurts is the sound thing, where like sound comes in and you feel it in your legs. It's the strangest thing. Uh,
Yeah.
like,
Fear, that's like pouring fuel on the fire. If you think of your symptoms as like a little fire, fear and anxiety is like literally pouring fuel on that fire. Now, it's very difficult, actually, in the beginning, it's like impossible to not have any fear. There's going to
yeah,
be some there, but you learn to handle that discomfort a lot better, especially as you learn that, wait, you have the power to fix this stuff. Like you have the power inside your brain to fix this. There's a term, self-efficacy, which is, I just searched up the definition, but an individual's belief in their capacity to succeed in a specific situation or attain a certain goal. So in the beginning, we feel like, going back to that magic pill, I need this magic supplement. I need them to do studies and come out with uh, a medication to solve CFS. Once you realize, yeah, that probably ain't coming anytime soon, maybe in 10, 20 years, it's up to me. And then you realize, oh, there's actual things I could do to make my situation better and fix this. You start to have more confidence in yourself. And the confidence is what gives you the courage to implement these things, and stay strong despite the fear. So it's not really an absence of fear. It's the courage despite of the fear, that you're going to, follow the plan and respond well.
Yeah. And, one other big thing lastly is the realization that every person is going through a different version of CFS. It's not all the same. So there's not a cookie cutter way to solve this. And that's when you realize, when I started to really understand, it almost gave me a little bit more compassion for my fellow man. And everyone's going through these things in life that you just weren't aware of before, that they're internal battles that each person is having to deal with. And there's not one way to deal with, because it's not the same situation for everyone. But we all are the same in some way. That's when it hit me. Like we all have these subconsciouses, and we all have these like internal voices, and they are different, but we are wired very similarly. That was a big thing for me when that hit me. Like, wow, what a fascinating machine we are.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you realize how powerful the brain is. Like there were times when I was in the emergency room and I really couldn't breathe. It's like my chest was stuck. I couldn't even like expand my chest to breathe, and they had to give me oxygen. And they do all these scans, doctors rushing in and out, and then the doctor comes in and says, "Hey, great news. You're completely fine. There's nothing wrong with you." All of a sudden, my chest works and I can breathe and my heart rate stabilizes. I think those times when I got those glimpses of like, wait a minute, something's going on here, because they didn't give me anything. They didn't inject me with anything. He just said some words, and all of a sudden, like my symptoms kind of lifted. So there are some signs of that in the emergency rooms, but just like you said, nobody's CFS journey is exactly the same. There are some overlapping symptoms, some overlapping thoughts and struggles we have, but there is not a cookie cutter exact plan to follow. There's certain principles and frameworks that stay the same, but in terms of someone's plan, I think that's where it can really help. Like, talking to Krista, being able to
man, I remember reaching out on school and all over the place just to find someone that had the exact same symptom as me. And then when I found out that there was someone out there like me that had the same symptom, I was like, yes. I felt this feeling of relief that was so profound that it wasn't me going crazy. Like, okay, wait a minute. So this happens to you too? Wow. And then, other people will chime in. That's when I realized how powerful the community of CFS recovery is, because you don't feel alone at that point. And then when you don't feel alone, then what we talked about with fear, then the fear can kind of dissipate a little bit, and then helps you edge forward to your short-term goals. But it all starts with that connection that you're not alone, and that you're not an isolated person case with your symptoms. That was a big thing, big nugget for me, just finding those people. So I encourage anyone, like, just reach out to people with, do you have this symptom? Do you have that symptom? And,
Yeah. Well, it definitely helps, feeling like you're part of a small team versus doing this all by yourself. Cause you're in the trenches of this stuff. Like the coaches, like Krista, you're working directly with her. Yeah. Krista may be on the other side of this. She's out of the trenches. So there's still that, like, I'm down here in the trenches. It's nasty. It's It's really messy. But then there's other people, in similar places as you. So it's like you're not there by yourself, but at least you're digging your way out of it alongside other people, and you're not doing it alone. It's like a shared struggle, shared mission as well. And that's the cool thing, is the shared wins. It's like you get to celebrate these things, these milestones, and other people are just as happy for you, and you're just as happy for them. So you're
Yeah.
really not doing this alone. Um, you're not alone on this journey, which is
Yeah.
huge.
I'd say I'm probably at the top end of the triangle right now.
Yep,
Still,
definitely need to
still
work out.
just, still just, little bit symptomatic here and there, but I think I've always been a little bit symptomatic even before. But at
Yeah,
least I'm able to, to participate, which is a huge thing. Just being present and being able to participate, I think, on all the goals and wins on the chart that I have written down. Those words are they're slowly crossing them off, right?
yeah, yeah. I had a bunch of bucket list items. I remember when I was in the trenches of this, I'm like, I want to eat this food, this food. I want to go here, there, and it's cool because I've done pretty much all of that and actually surpassed it. So it's so cool once you get that momentum going. It's just once you learn how to get a little bit better, you learn how to get a lot better and recover
Mhm.
faster. And then it starts to spill out into other areas of life. You just learn how to live life, I guess, and squeeze the most that you can out of life in a sustainable way. So I would say the quality of my life now, and you
Yes.
know, you probably experienced this too. The quality is so much better than before
Oh
because you can
yeah.
stop and smell the roses. You're
Yeah.
not rushing through life. You're enjoying it,
Yeah.
and
And
you're
there's
being
always things to be grateful for, and that I'm blessed that I have the things that I have, and you know I have my North Star goal. It's still not there yet because it involves me turning 50 and being in the best shape of my life. I got about a year or so to go, but that's my North Star and a goal.
That's awesome.
I just
That's
leaked
awesome.
my age.
So maybe tell us what are the biggest differences in your life now uh, compared to like a year ago? And there's so many things. So let's start with physical. Like, what can you physically do now that you couldn't do or struggled to do like a year ago?
Oh, get out of bed.
Yeah.
I struggled. Yeah, I struggled with the smallest things, like I said, leaving the house. I can remember that I'd be at my closet, and I don't know why, for whatever reason, I just couldn't make a decision on what to wear for like half an hour, and I'd be going crazy in my
Mm,
mind. I'd be like, why am I mentally in this situation? And I didn't understand it. Now that's not there. Like I don't have any issues making these little decisions that hold you up during the day, that you just overthink stuff so bad. Just way overthinking things. So now I'm able to do that. Physically, yeah, I'm doing weights, I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups and all those sorts of things. Where before, if I would do any sort of little thing, it was like if I did the physical, I would get mental symptoms, and if I did the mental, I'd get physical
yeah.
symptoms. So it was like this really hard thing to try and figure out, like, which area of advancement do I want? Do I want a physical advancement or mental advancement? And I decided that the mental was more important because it helped me function. So I just peeled back my physical, and then once that got away, like column, now I'm able to do more physical because the mental's there, and go shopping, go to concerts, go on road trips. I'm serving 400 people at events. I'm giving speeches, all sorts of things that I did not think that I would be able to do.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You're out there living life, and I know a big goal for you, and you did cover some of it, throughout this interview, was just being the father you want to be,
Yeah,
spending quality time with the kids, the husband you want to be. So, tell us about that.
yeah.
What does that look like now?
Well, you realize, like, it's so short from a kid when they're 7, 8 to like 15. They don't want anything to do with you anymore. I really am happy that I'm able to be just present and watch these kids do the tiniest little things, but they give you so much joy. Like the source of joy that my kids and my wife give me that I'm able to actually see and appreciate now, man, like I don't know how to, like if I was to have to do this alone without that source of joy, it would be super difficult. But having them as a soundboard and just the energy transfer where they give me and I get it and I give it back. That's what being a dad, the value of it for me. That was one of the first things that I wanted to be able to do, is just to be ever present in their journey that they're having, right? Because it just happens so quick.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
You blink your eye, they're 5 years older and then 5 years older. And the cool thing is, you've been able to make that reframe. A lot of people, especially if they're dealing with a lot of symptoms in CFS, they're tired, they can start to almost see kids or family as maybe not full on roadblocks, but extra things that make it harder to recover. Because it's like responsibilities, I got to recover and raise the kids. But then
Mm.
you realize, it's not a roadblock. It's a purpose. It gives you energy. It's a
Mhm.
purpose. And it can actually fuel your recovery. Whereas a lot of people can see them almost as things that make recovery harder, which they
Mhm.
can in the beginning. But once you reframe that, it's like a feedback loop. It's like you make some progress, you get to spend more quality time with the kids, which gives you more energy because you're more connected and present, which makes you want to continue getting better. So you continue doing the right things. It's an upward spiral, essentially, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that my children are that age where they're independent enough for me to um, be able to regulate like if I need some time to just, I know I'm not changing diapers or like daycare, like I'm lucky that that's not there for right now. I mean, it's doable if you have a partner or whatever that's able to help you out, but those things are off my plate at this stage in our family. So I'm grateful for that I was able to navigate in that sense. But
That's
yeah.
exciting. That's exciting. So any big goals you have coming up this year? Looking at the future. You're in Kelowna, which is an awesome city in British Columbia. That's the province or state I live in. So a lot of stuff to do there. Any big goals you guys have coming up this year or bucket list items in the plans?
um, yeah, I'm doing a friend's wedding in a month's time. So about 130 people. So I'm a chef alongside of my sales job that I do now. I was a chef in previous, and I still do things on the side just for here's there's. I was taking on way less over the past year because that's what got me in this spot. But I'm able. This is the first kind of big thing that I'm going to be doing outside of my job, and I'm feeling pretty confident. It's in about a month's time, so that's one goal. I have another goal here in 2 weeks. I'm flying to Moncton, New Brunswick for the National Culinary Federation Nationals competition. And I'm also up for a national award for that for Member of the Year. So I might have to get up and add a black tie and say a big thing. I don't know. That's if I win. I don't know. But that's another thing in my mind that's not weighing on me, but it's one of those things where there's going to be a long flight, and
That's a
I'm going
long
to be.
flight. Let's say what, 6 hours?
Yeah,
Five,
I
six, seven?
stop in Toronto, but
Yeah.
then there's always the what ifs, and but I tell myself, you did the cruise, you got sick, you know, uh, there's always in those events everyone wants to go out and party at night and stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't drink anymore, so and I'm fine with that, and I'll just call it an early night, and people don't really remember that you're not there anyways because they can't remember, but.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
Exactly.
that's another goal. Yeah, at this point, other goals would just include just really being able to participate in summertime in the Okanagan because it's just there's so much here, so much going on, food and wine and outdoor activities, all those sorts of things that I know are going to come my way. Just being able to just participate, enjoy, and not be an impedance to my family in that time, right? We're like, hey, Dad, let's go camping. Sure, let's do it. Right? Those are the things that I'm looking forward to being able to do this summer, and I will be able to do that. I know I will be able to. So
it's going to be a very different summer than last summer. Like,
yeah,
different world and
get smoked
reality.
out.
Yeah. Hopefully not. But for people watching this right now, if there's someone who was in your position about a year ago where they're kind of lost, a bit scared, struggling, confused, and they're really asking themselves, like, can I really get better from this? Because I feel like I've tried everything. What are some words of inspiration you want to share with them? And actually, even better, what would you want to tell yourself a year ago, knowing what you know now? Kind of words of encouragement or guidance you want to share.
Always go back to the fundamental of just responding in the instant, just responding well and being super consistent with yourself and being very disciplined in how you approach that. It's hard at first. It really is, because you don't see a way out. But if you just look at each one as an opportunity rather than I don't know how to explain it really well, but it's like you have to approach it like you've earned the ability to conquer every little thing. Like I've earned the ability to get out of bed and walk down the stairs, and then tomorrow I'm going to do it again. Just like I said, keeping it simple and just be consistent and find an area of your life that gives you joy and that gives you stability, and just be really cognizant and grateful of that, and latch onto that and use that as a stepping stone. Like I mean, I don't want to say I found a spiritual awakening out of all of this, but there is that opportunity as well, everyone, that maybe there's some room in your life to just find yourself, and that'll help you big time. It did for me. So
yeah,
reading some literature.
Yeah, like the spiritual thing you talked about, like I can make a whole different YouTube channel with hundreds of videos about that side of things, because it was like an awakening. And
yes,
you're forced with CFS, you're forced to spend so much time with your own thoughts that you never would if you never got this. You're forced to explore the darkest corners of your mind, and you get to know yourself very, very well. Because all you're doing all day is just having conversations with yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly. But you have this. It's a very different relationship with your own mind. You learn to become best friends with your own mind, and be your biggest supporter versus your biggest, I guess, critic. Because that can be the case going into this stuff. But you unlock these different areas of your mind that you never would have. You learn to believe in yourself, and you learn to believe in the impossible, which a lot of times for most people, recovery at some point is impossible, but you still believe anyways. And then it starts to happen. And it just helps you build that confidence, because if you can conquer this, if you can come out of these trenches, nothing is impossible. You could really do whatever you set your mind to. Nothing's going to be as hard as trying to recover. It's a huge confidence builder.
Yeah, those internal metaphors are powerful too. What I mean by that is, like, we all have our little simple tricks, and you realize you have to speak to yourself almost like in metaphors at times, where like I'd be like, picture myself in like driving, and then my nervous system's in the back seat, and I'm like, hey, I got this, man. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm in control now. I'm not driving to hurt us. And you just kind of laugh at yourself, and it's kind of funny. Little things like that, like just, these little metaphors that you can tell yourself. I used to picture like my brain as like a guitar amp, and it was really loud, and I'd be like, just
turn it down, right?
Visualize like, hey, the neighbors are trying to sleep, man. Like, turn it down. or whatever the hell, whatever it is that you got to do to trick yourself into just like, you know, had the ability, my kryptonite symptom was numbness and tingling. I had the ability to literally like in my brain flex it. And it was almost like I could shoot electricity like at will down into my body. And I just practiced doing that over and over again. Like, see, I control this. Like, you know, like my brain, if I can pronounce the pain, then why can't I extract it? Like, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah, that is exactly right. And we have a particular brain retraining exercise, expanding the pain centers and shrinking them. Yes.
Mm.
If you can pronounce it, then that just shows that you have some control over it. So if you can turn the dial up, the volume up on that symptom or whatever that sensation is, you can also turn it down. But it's just showing you that this is directly linked to a lot of thoughts I have and my brain power. So I could control that knob. Now, at first, that knob is like stuck. It's really squeaky, but over time, it becomes smoother as you learn how to turn that knob. And eventually it gets to the point where you're like, I really got control over this. Even if the symptoms come and I have a flare up, I know what to do. I'm still in control to a certain degree, and I determine what happens. This is either going to be a setback or an opportunity, and I choose an opportunity every single time.
You need to have a toolkit, everyone, that like for every symptom that your brain throws at you. I know that I have a little toolkit. If I get the POTS, like if I get my heart that's just kind of going, I have a little procedure that I do to keep that down. I've really been studying how like breathing can really regulate that. I know it sounds really silly and hard to imagine being able to just be calm enough to do that, but like these really deep breathing and holding and box breathing, and like that's a tool for this symptom. And then there's when you get a migraine and you can't see and it's all flashy, you're not dying, you're not having a stroke. It's just like you need to just do this. Or so little things. I mean, there isn't one trick for them all. There's just like put a little toolkit together, like, oh, this one's coming. How did I beat it last time? Oh yeah, you're in control of that one. This is how you did it. I don't know. That's just me, but
yeah, exactly. See, you're a pro now. You have a whole toolkit to respond in for any of these curveballs that come up, and over time it gets easier and easier. You still got to put in work. It's still a conscious effort. But at some point, it just becomes subconscious. It happens automatically to the point where your brain is just like, all right, these symptoms aren't working. We trust this. We trust Jesse now to take care of his body. So we're going to stop throwing symptoms at him.
Yeah, and I'm actually excited. To see where the next month or two, where that gets me to go. Because really, you're never going to know yourself better in and out than coming through CFS. You think you really know yourself, what kind of a person you are, all that sort of thing. But when you really look deep dive into like what's going on in your brain, it's really this abyss of, I don't know. It's quite funny.
Yeah, and you really see how strong you are, I guess, when things are falling apart physically and mentally and emotionally. There's a part deep. This is getting into like spiritual stuff, but there's a part of you that's like, no, we're going to keep on going. Like this can be solved, even if it's just 1% hope. You're on like 1% left of hope. You're like, no, let's keep fighting. And you really have to dig deep. I never really understood what that meant until you're in a room and you can't move and you're staring at the ceiling. Like you got to find a different place inside, like real deep. Once you find that, wild.
And I'd say the last thing for like to answer your question, I've noticed that there's certain times of the year where things go up and down, and I have late fall, Christmas time. It seems when it's really dark and stuff, and there's lots of I don't know how to explain it. Pressure at Christmas. It's a tough time. Those of us who've lost loved ones. If I can get through, my goal is I'm going to crush Christmas this year. Like
Oh yeah.
that's my true test, because my subscription runs out right around there. So I'm gonna just let go of the seat, and that's my last. If I when I make it through Christmas this year, then that will be the final proof for me.
Absolutely. And at this rate, yeah, Christmas won't even be a problem. You're going to knock that out of the park. Like we have what, six months, right? To get there. And in the past 6 months, look how much growth you've had. It's only going to progress faster and faster. So it's just super
I hope
cool to
so.
see. It's yeah, you're on the right track, man. You're crushing it. So, really appreciate your time, Jesse. It
Okay.
was so inspiring to hear your story. And for all you guys watching this right now, you know, if you're struggling, if you're having a hard time and you're feeling lost, just keep watching the YouTube videos, keep implementing these things and try to keep it simple. Pick a few ideas that really resonate with you. You don't have to implement everything. Pick like the top 2 or 3 things that really resonate and then try to follow those. The key is keeping it simple. And little by little, before you know it, you're gaining momentum, gaining capacity, you're responding better to symptoms, and your life starts to come back piece by piece. And recovery is absolutely possible as long as you've ruled out all the other health issues that might be causing this. So my last question for you, Jesse, is overall, it's been a good investment?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Like sometimes at the beginning, you want to see like a return right away, and you just have to stop thinking about it, right? Like, it is a good investment, I would say. What is more important to you in your whole life than your physical and mental health, right? Like, what's the price tag, right? I don't know.
Priceless.
Yeah. I mean, if you carry on with CFS, you won't be able to earn a living anyways. So look at it that way, right?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like the sooner you fix it, the better,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. A little
yeah,
warrant.
yeah, you've done a phenomenal job, Jesse. Really appreciate you coming on here. And for you guys watching this right now, keep diving into the YouTube videos, keep trying to implement as much as you can. And if you did need some extra help, we have different recovery systems based on where you're at. If you wanted, really like some deep hands-on help working directly with the coaches, you can apply for the Recovery Academy Platinum program. I'll leave a link down below. And if you're a great fit, we'd love to help you, get your life back. That's the system we kind of built here. But other than that, just keep on going. Just keep telling yourself recovery is possible, because it absolutely is. If Jesse can do it, if so many other people who are bedridden for years can do it, you can absolutely do it. So always remember that you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Jesse, thank you so much, man.
I would say that CFS recovery is absolutely the real deal.
I actually felt like somebody had an answer, like somebody explained what was going on, and it all clicked.